So I had a live stream recently, and my favorite artist, Sally Joe, mentioned something about principles and how if you don't have one, maybe that's when you get taken over by principalities. I thought this was an idea worth exploring. So let's figure out how true this may be and why it's important and how it relates to what we see all around us all the time lately. So let's just think about what a principle is. A principle, roughly speaking, is an invariant pattern, right? So it's something that you apply, we'll say, consistently and reliably, right? And the beginning and end points of a principle don't matter because it's the pattern in between the beginning and end points. It doesn't mean you apply it universally. That would be, quote, autistic. But it is important that these things exist. So, for example, obviously, and it should be obvious, but apparently it's not, you don't want to get away with saying, well, if a person of one race kills a person of another race, that's not okay. But if the races are reversed, it is okay. And you don't want to be seen to letting that happen, right? Because then you're not following a principle. The principle would be that killing people is bad, right? It's one of those commandment thingies, I think. There's 10 of them. I don't know. That would be an example of a trivial, to be fair, example of a principle. So another principle be something like, oh, well, you've got one party in control of the government and they are embezzling money, but we're not going to go after them because they're the party in charge. And the other party gets in control, or a different party gets in control, and then they're doing the same thing, and now all of a sudden you want to prosecute them. Okay, you're not a principled person in that case. You're just not. And I think the confusion is that principled people, because people are like this about everything, think that everyone else is also principled. But that actually isn't true. And this explains some of this behavior. This is why, I've said this before, maybe it's very controversial for certain types of people. If this is very controversial for you, you're not on team good. I'm just going to tell you that right up front, okay? The reason why people end up in the circumstance where they only support something when it's their people in control, and then when it's not, they don't support that thing anymore, is because they're unprincipled. Just they are. The reason why conservatives understand people who aren't conservatives, liberals and leftists and moderates alike, is because they are principled. Right? It doesn't mean even that they disagree with them necessarily, but an unprincipled person will be taken over by the whim of their emotion or a principality at any time. A principled person will not. Now, there are no perfectly principled people, and it's theoretically possible that there are no perfectly unprincipled people, although I might be able to argue with that. So I'm not dealing with a universal absolute. That's not what we're talking about. But people who are mostly principled, and there are tests for this that you can do, aren't as prone to being taken over by the whims of their emotions, by principalities, by random ideas fed to them by who knows what. Why are there so many communists around? Did the same person spread this communism idea to them? I don't think so. Was it the same cadre of professors in the university? No, a lot of the people that I know that have communist ideas never went to any college or university. That doesn't explain it. Is it that they're teaching communism in grammar school? I actually don't think so at all. But I do think there's a principality there controlling people that are pro-communist. Despite all the evidence, right? You give them evidence, it doesn't work. That's the other tell for these people. Evidence doesn't sway unprincipled people. Evidence only works on principled people. And not all principled people. It only works on people who value evidence. So you can't use that as a marker necessarily, but it's a better marker than none. the way to understand a principled versus an unprincipled people, I use this test all the time. It's my favorite test. Right? You pick a president. And usually I pick George Bush or Barack Obama. Those are the two I like to use. Right? You pick one of those and you take something that one of them did and attribute it to the other one. And then you ask the person, oh, did you hear that Obama passed this law or signed this law? And then if they like Obama, they'll go, oh yeah, that's a great idea. And you go, oh, wait a minute. No, maybe it was George Bush. Now, if they immediately change their position, and believe me, 90% of the people I did this with failed this test. 90%. Okay? No, terrible law. Terrible law. What? You just said it was good. Now it's terrible because of the person that did it changed? You're not a principal, right? That's by definition, period. You should be. I wish you were, but clearly you're not. It's a problem. It's a big problem. So you can test it by doing things like that. There's tons of other types of tests like that you can do. That only works for people who care about politics, right? There's other people. You can do it in software. It's like, oh, you said you should write it this way. But then when this person did exactly the way you said it, you got all upset because they did it and not you. Oh, okay. Well, you're not principled. You obviously don't believe in what you said. You only believe that it applies to you. If it's something that you believe only applies to you, you're probably not principled. Now, that's not 100% because sometimes that's true. Right? Obviously, you believe that using the chainsaw applies to you and not to a 2-year-old. That should be obvious, right? And that's not hypocritical either, right? So just because the rule doesn't apply the same everywhere doesn't mean the person's unprincipled necessarily. It kind of depends on what we're talking about. So principles aren't arbitrary. You can't say this always connects to any other thing or that these two things are always connected because this pattern exists or this rule exists. You can't do that. But clearly, there are principles. And maybe there aren't quite so many as you may think, for example. But they don't apply everywhere. They don't apply universally. They don't apply irrespective of all other factors, but they do apply when you change beginning and end points. It's a little tricky for people to understand because you got to keep a lot in your head at once, and a lot of people can't do that. And the people that can't do that probably aren't capable of being principled. They're probably taken over by principalities. Principalities like fashion. Principalities like the political opinion of the day. Principalities like whatever meme is going around. These are all principalities that infect your thinking and take it over temporarily under certain circumstances. That's what they are. And again, no one's perfect. People are going to get prone to that, right? And you can get confused. So I despise memes for the most part. I have engaged in making a couple of memes under certain circumstances. I made the meta meme, I don't know, a long time ago. I made the last meme. I did. It's not that hard. A long time ago. With the Velociraptor, one of the original memeing backgrounds. It's great. It's perfect. The thing is that when I use memes, I'm using them to be amusing. I'm not using them to communicate anything in particular. I don't believe they are good or useful forms of communication. I've been over this in live streams before. I've been over this in other videos. Memes are not great. Sorry. They're definitely a degraded form of communication. They're very niche. They're very cliquish. They're very, very group oriented. The same meme means something very different in different groups. It's not a stable, universal way to communicate at all. It might seem more universal because the internet distorts how everything works and how everything looks because it magnifies your audience significantly. And it also, there's a bunch of random, or at least from your perspective, random factors going into things. And in many cases, they are actually random factors, right? There's some non-random factors. There are algorithms, but they just don't work the way you think. So this problem is those things get fed to you. Those things inhabit your brain space all of a sudden, and you're thinking about things or acting in a way that is not consistent and reliable. You've been taken over by a principality. You're not being principled. A principled person isn't going to one minute vote for one party and the next minute vote for the other party based on who they're around. A principled person is not going to necessarily change what they publicly espouse as their position. And by publicly, I mean around a group of people, not broadcast on the internet like on a YouTube channel, although also that, right? They're not going to do that. When you see people doing that, you see somebody saying, oh, poor Charlie Kirk. And 6 months ago, they were saying, I'm glad he's dead because I've seen that. It's all over YouTube. Those people are unprincipled. They're also kind of evil. So that might be a hint, right? Like right away. Or vice versa. They're crying 1 minute and, the next minute they're like, well, it's okay. Hey, these are not principled sorts of behaviors. Right? And that doesn't mean you can't change your mind and have reasons. That's fine. But you actually kind of know, right? You get this intuition when you see these things side by side about what's been going on. Because a person who has had a change of heart, they don't just change that one thing. Their entire pattern of speech changes. The words they use, how quickly they speak, right? Because when you're speaking with emotion, generally you're speaking a little fast. Your language is a little sloppier. The words you use are a little sharper and more negative. Even when you're trying to be positive. I bet lots of people are like super happy all the time, but they're like super happy they're definitely just awash with happy emotion, which I don't care for that. Like, overly positive people bother me. But if you listen to their language, it's mostly positive for sure, no question about that, but there's a sharpness to it. They're talking a little fast. They're a little excited. Nothing wrong with a little excitement. That can convey passion. Passion is really important to understand, right? But you don't want that sharpness. You don't want that upbeat, constant tempo. You don't want that. To someone who sincerely changed their stripes, when they make the statement that isn't the same statement, it's going to sound very, very different. Probably slower, more deliberate. There might be more passion in it and less emotion. They might sound really sincere. And so they're being very, very serious at the moment, right now. Whereas before, maybe they were rushing, maybe they were just saying something and yeah, that's the way it is. So you can tell when someone's had a change of heart, a change of mind. You can feel it. It's intuitive. You can sense it. Those are principled people, even if their position has changed, because their position changed for a reason. And this is why, and this isn't a perfect measure, because some people, their reason changes and they don't know why. That happens all the time, actually. But this is why I always ask people, why did you change your mind? This seems like a change in your position. What happened? And very often, but not all the time, they can tell you what happened. I usually don't need to ask that of the people because I can tell by how they're speaking that they've changed their mind, that they've had a change of heart. And that change of heart has modified their mind in a way that they are speaking differently about the same subject. That can be a principled position. But these people who are rah-rah one day and boo-boo the next on the same issue, maybe with the same level of intensity, one's just negative and one's positive, because intensity has nothing to do with negativity or positivity, right? And we're not used to the neutral condition. So we always think either something's, positive or negative. That's not true. Most things are neutral. Most things are neutral, like technology. Technology is neutral. Obviously, you wouldn't use it unless, if you think technology is evil and you're using technology, you're telling on yourself, right? That's the principled position, by the way. So I use technology because I think it can be used for good. Otherwise, I wouldn't use it. If it can be used for good, it can't be inherently evil. Not that it's not super difficult. It's first order logic, guys. Very simple. Somebody tells you technology is evil and they're using technology, they're just telling you they're evil. I guess I'll have to agree with them. Also, stay away from those people. Just saying. That would be a principled thing to do. That doesn't mean there aren't exceptions. Oh, we got to reach out to this person. Maybe we can crack them open and get them out of being evil. Absolutely. But most of those people are taken over by principalities, right? The principality of blaming material for your own personal failings. That's being taken over by a principality. Oh, it's technology's fault. It's Twitter's fault that I speak poorly. It's Peterson doesn't belong on Twitter because it's like, well, or you could take it as a way to train yourself to behave better. The fact that you can lash out instantly on Twitter doesn't mean you should. And the fact that it's available but you don't use it is sort of like keeping your sword in the scabbard until it's time to take it out, by the way, because why else have a sword? A lot of weight to carry around for nothing. Those are good things to practice. You could become principled by practicing holding the principalities, your emotions, your desires, whatever else might be out there, infecting you, changing you, altering you, right? If you can hold that back, that's just a plus. It's good for you. It makes you principled. Principles need to be formed over time. You can't be educated into being principled. That's when these people pursue modern philosophy, they get philosophy degrees, they're trying to become principled through books. It doesn't work. Most of them are absolutely the complete worst type of people you could ever hope to be around. Seriously, I've been around a lot of them. They are just not great people. They do horrible things. There's that old adage, it's been around the internet lately, thank goodness. Watch how people behave towards a wait staff at a restaurant. Yeah, do that with somebody who's getting a philosophy degree. Let me know how the philosophy degree is working out for them. Or somebody who has a philosophy degree. Let me know. Don't sample just one. Sample a few, because hey, there's a few good people out there. There's, Lantern Jack's channel. Check it out. Good stuff. You want to see good scholarship? His latest video there on the Odyssey. Great. It's ideal scholarship. I mean, awesome stuff. Very principled person. I know this because I know him, right? Had interactions with him. He's a very principled person, right? Despite the quote philosophy degree, although I think he insists he has a degree in ancient philology, which is a much better idea. It keeps you away from the corruption, at least partially, I suspect. You don't want to be taken over by principalities. You don't want somebody's psychological baggage that they wrote down in a book and pretended it was all about the culture to infest your way of thinking. You will be ruled by their principalities. They're passing them down through the books. Not great. Be principled, right? Form yourself as a principled individual or person, because there's no such thing as individuals, right? And then be better. That's why I try to exemplify a principle. For example, I always try to thank you for watching my videos and giving me your time, energy, and attention.